Hello. Well, today we are going to be going in our interactive notebook to page 69 and 70. And we are actually not going to be using a page for this. We're going to be creating our own Cornell notes. So to do that, we're going to do a line of division about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 or so squares in on the side, just carefully drawing a line. I didn't even need to use a ruler, I just drew a line. And then I'm going to go about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the top and create a box. Okay, so then we're going to add our topic. And our topic for today's notes is using percentage in everyday life. So these are the kind of problems where we take math out of the classroom into where you'll actually use it from a day-to-day basis. And your essential question for these set of notes is, how can I solve a percentage problem to find the discounted price of an item? So you go into the store, and how fitting is this? We just had Black Friday. You go into the store, and as you're in the store, you're looking around and you see something is 25% off, and you're wondering, well, how much is that going to be once it is discounted? And I could go around the store and try to find someone who will scan it for me, or I could try to find one of those, sometimes there's like posters that'll tell you what the discounted rate would be, or I can use my math brain and solve it myself so that I don't need to have to find anyone. So that's what we're going to be learning about today. Now, I know it's been a while since we've been in our math land, so I thought it would be smart first to do a little bit of review. So we're going to start off with some review. And the first thing we're going to review is, remember that a percent can be written as a ratio with a denominator, bottom number, of 100. So for example, if I had 25%, that would equal 25 over 100. Also, remember that when you have the word of, that means you're going to multiply. Remember that if you have is, that is equal. Okay. Now, let's remember how we find the percent of a number. So finding the percent of a number, we can do that in 3 ways. I bet you don't even realize that you know how to do this 3 different ways. Well, let me show you. The first way that we learned how to find the percent of a number, so let's use the example of, we are trying to find 30% of 200. and actually we would have what is 30% of 200. That's more appropriate. Now we could start off the first way, method 1, is using a proportion. And I'm going to box that because that's important. So using a proportion. And remember, this is when we use this proportion value of percent over 100 equals part over the whole amount. So let's look at our values that we have up above. We have 30 is the percent over 100 equals, well, we don't know the part because the part would be the is number, and we don't know that. That's the what. So because we don't know that, we're going to put that as a variable x. And we do know what the whole is. That's the of value. Because remember, we said that this is the is, this is the of value. Well, we have of 200, so we would put that in here. So now we can solve this, and we can do it with cross product way, but in this case there's a really simple proportional value that we can see easily. That 100 goes into 200 2 times. So 100 times 2 equals 200, and whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So 30 times 2 would be 60. Our value is 60. That's the first method. Pretty simple. But there's another method. We could use a fraction, and this is using our algebraic method. So remember, we have what is 30% of 200. And we know some of our definitions, our translation words that we can do. We know that is an equal sign. What is a variable. I'm going to use y. We know that of is multiply. I'm going to use the dot for multiply this time just because we have variables in place and it gets confusing. And we just dropped down this 200, but we need to convert this 300, and I'm going to convert it to a fraction. And remember, to do that, you just put the percentage over 100, just like we did in our proportion. But now I've got this 200, and I've got to make that into a fraction as well so I can deal with it. To do that, I just put it over 1. So now I have this problem where I'm doing, and I said I wasn't going to do it, but that might make more sense. So now I'm going to solve this, and to do that, I'm going to simplify out some of these factors. I'm going to pull some things out to make it a little simple. And I know that 100 can go into 200. So 100 divided by 100 is 1. And then 200 divided by 100 is 2. So now I'm going to do 30 times 2, which is 60. 1 times 1 is 1. 60 divided by 1 is 60. So my answer is, again, 60. So that's the second way. Now the third way is very similar, but it is using a decimal. So I'm going to use the same formula that we have above. The what is, so what is 30% of 200. So I use the same ones up above. The what is the third, I left the 30% because I'm going to come back to that, of, multiply, and 200 I just brought down. So now I want to do 30% as a decimal. Remember, we take where the percentage is, move it twice, and we add our decimal point. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm going to tell you, we could write 30 hundredths, and it would be absolutely correct. But we could also write 3/10 and kind of get rid of that 0, which will make our multiplying a lot simpler. So I highly recommend that you just drop off that last 0. It's the same value. So now we're going to multiply. I've got 200 times 3/10, and I'm going to do 0, 0, 6. I've got one decimal place out, got to count 1 in, so I end up with it equals 16. So all 3 times 30% of 200 equals 60. All 3 ways. So those are the main ways for you to remember how to find the percent of a number. Now, tomorrow's notes, when we continue these, we're going to keep going, and we're going to actually go to page 69. And we're going to use the same exact method, but we're going to use it to find discount. Because when we go into that store and we're finding 25% of $200, it's the exact same process. It's just you're using money, and we have to then do something with that discount to find out what the final price would be. So stay tuned for tomorrow when we will be going back and finishing up these notes. So thank you very much.